Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, everyone, if you love the combat sports in all forms, make sure to like, share, subscribe button to the Drewsperience show, the show that's 100% combat sports on all platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Today, it's a bit different, but it's someone who works with fighters. I was recommended this guest by former guest, the uncrowned top 3. He lost his ranking. It's bullshit, but hey, listen, it happens in this fight game. I was recommended this guest by my friend of the show and former guest Costello, the Spaniard Van Steenis. He's done amazing work with athletes from all sports, but Costello was the first MMA athlete that he worked on. Here we go. This is the guest, the one, the only physio specialist, Leigh Egger. Welcome to the show, Leigh.
Thanks, Drew. Thanks for the hyped intro. It's getting me pumped.
Yeah, how is it down in Holland right now? What's it like down there?
Yeah, it's all good. We're busy. I work in a football club at the moment, as well as helping Costello out. So that's that's what keeps me busy. It's like I don't know what it's like for you, but it's still cold at the moment. But about to start heating up soon, as then we prepare Costello for another fight in May. So all is good. All is good in Europe here.
Amazing. Yeah, I love it. Everything's opened up now. It seems like the pandemic is like an afterthought after a crazy 2.5 years and whatnot. Things are going back to normal, which you love to see. But we're not here to talk about that. I want to ask you, how did you get started in physio exactly? What made you choose that for a career?
Actually, I don't want to babble on about myself too much, but to make a long story short, I was a football player in Australia, where I'm from.
Really?
Not a fantastic one, but I worked really hard, and I always had lots of injuries and bits and pieces of niggles and troubles, and I got convinced to go to university more by my father than anybody else. But I kind of fell into like movement science, sports science, exercise science. And then I did a major in physiotherapy in Sydney, in Australia. But all the time I was still playing football and training. I was very much interested in all kinds of sports and a little bits and pieces of BJJ here and there, and boxing like quite a lot while I was playing too. So in off seasons and stuff. So that's how I got into it initially. And then I kept playing and kept working with different sports, some consulting here and there, all over the place, really, mainly like rugby, football, a little bit of basketball, a little bit of boxing, these types of things, individual athletes. And then I took a job over here a few years back now to work with a football team in Holland, which is when I stopped playing myself. And I took up MMA recreationally, and that's how I ended up meeting Costello and his brother Gino and a lot of the other boys that are part of the great team that is Team Spaniard. So that's in a nutshell how I got into it. Yeah.
It's amazing. So you're from Australia. So when you came to Holland, did you have to learn? Can you speak Dutch yourself, or or like they don't care if you speak English at all? Like, what's it like living as an expat, basically?
Yeah, it's one of the easier places to move as an expat, I would say, because almost everybody speaks English and good English. Um, but I've always loved languages as a kid, and I learned German a lot in high school and a bit at university. So when I came, I was like, I really wanted to learn it. So yeah, I can speak now. I wouldn't say like an amazing level. Depends on the topic, but yeah, I can speak. I can listen better. Um, Read and write, not so much. But yeah, I get by, and it's difficult if you want to learn because everybody speaks such good Dutch. Like Costello is a good example. So they always switch to English to help you out. But no, it was a fantastic experience, and yeah, Dutch people are not too far removed from Australian people in that they are like, again, like Costello, the Dutch side of him is like good sense of humor, quite sarcastic, laid back, but also at certain times can be serious and stuff. I would say it's similar to the people that I grew up with in Australia. So it's a great culture. I really like it. It's taken some time to settle in, but it's like a second home for me now. So it's cool.
Yeah, Costello keeps telling me you got to come down, Drew. We're waiting for you. You're going to be treated like a kid. You're going to be treated amazing here. You're Canadian because I'm from Canada, so we're kind of, you and I are Commonwealth. I like to say Commonwealth cousins, but Holland seems to love Canadians and Australians, and I think that dates back to World War II when some of the brigades were helping liberate Holland from the Germany.
Yeah, no, I haven't gone into massive depth in the history in that aspect of it, to be fair, but makes total sense. And yeah, they're very fond of Australians. I haven't seen that many Canadians around here, but I'm sure that they're a very welcoming culture also. So
They they, re-
um,
they, they
yeah,
really are.
it's
They're like
it's
you
yeah,
got
it's
lucky,
friendly.
man.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So you start going into uh you start going so you start go so basically you have all these injuries, and then you're pushed into you're pushed into university by your father because it's obvious that the injuries in football were catching up. So and what was so you meet Costello for the first time from because you're just taking, BJJ, some boxing. What was that first interaction like with him? Like, and how did you know like you and him would establish the relationship you guys have today?
Actually, it was when I first came to Holland. So I was like starting up MMA because I'd stopped playing football. I needed
Hmm.
something to do with my energy outside of working at the club that I work at. And Costello was teaching the classes with his brother and with his coach Ricardo and Stefan, another friend of his. And so I just kind of through Stefan, I got introduced to those classes. But I was like, oh, these guys are crazy, man. Running the class, they're crazy good. And then I didn't meet him properly. I just went to these classes, for whatever weeks, months. And then Costello actually did his ACL in a training session before one of his comeback fights that was planned, I believe, in October of last year
Hmm.
or something like that. Well, he did it in October. He got injured in October. And then one of the guys, Stefan, also a good friend, now said, hey, can you just have a sit down with this guy because you're working as a rehab coach and as a performance coach at my football club that I'm at. Can you just give him some advice and like check his knee and see what's going on? So Costello was like, we knew each other by face, but not closely. So he was like, yeah, man, this happened with my knee. And I was a little bit like, yeah, it's not a good sign. I think he'd already had a scan at that point where it was, oh no, he hadn't had a scan, but it was like, yeah, I felt a pop. He had all the classic signs of ACL
Hmm.
injury. I was like, go and get a scan. And he's like, but do you think I can fight in 2 weeks? And I was like, no, brother, this is not going to work most likely, but let's get a scan and stuff. So that's actually how we met and got to know each other personally. And then, things just kind of took off from there.
Hmm.
We made an agreement to continue working on his knee and to build him back because he'd had a rough couple of years, obviously, with
Hmm.
injuries, with COVID, with the inactivity that he'd had with Bellator. So it was kind of like a rebuild, actually. And my mistake, it was not last year that the fight was booked. It was the year before that. And then
Yes,
it was like a long rehabilitation
it
period.
was
Yeah.
supposed to be with Lorenz Larkin, I remember, because I was talking with his manager, and his manager like, this is like a good fight for him to get back, but then yeah, the knee injury set him back. So what
Yeah.
like the fact that you were able to like, really have that talk with him, that must have really helped put things into perspective, because if he would have fought, it would have like shortened his career even more, and he would have probably had long-term after effects from fighting with that kind of injury, correct?
Yeah. I don't think fighting was ever really going to be an option. He would have figured that out before he got into the octagon or into the arena, into the cage. But um, it was like the start of a massive learning curve for him and also for me from a different perspective
Mm-hmm.
on um, my experiences that I can give to him from the sense of rehab and reconditioning his body after an injury. But also now it's extended beyond that to how he has to behave 24/7 like a professional athlete. And with my small amount of exposure to the world of MMA and combat sports, like it's very much a growing sport, right? Still, so it doesn't have the resources, the history, the interest from the public yet that something like European football does, or something like NFL does in the States, or these major global
Mm-hmm.
sports. I know it's rapidly growing, but I think personally, from what I've seen, the training methods, the recovery focus, just the whole all round perspective of approaching a career as an individual in MMA is pretty far back in the dark ages, which is on the one hand a little bit disappointing, but on the other hand, for someone like Costello or for any individual, you can look around at your competition and say, oh, okay, well, these guys are not doing any of the stuff that I'm now doing, so I can have a massive, it can have a massive impact on my career and my performances, and I can go out there and show myself and give the best version of himself and keep improving because yeah, you've seen him fight. He's a talented dude and he's a talented athlete. So we started that journey together. It was quite organic, really, and he's a cool fella. We get along really well. He's got a great work ethic, fantastic work ethic. That was one of the refreshing things, you know, because it's a bit like this, Drew. In my experience, it's like I work with players who get paid a lot of money to play football, and that's just saying nothing about them because I've worked with lots of players in the past. But when you get paid lots and lots of money, it doesn't necessarily translate to you maintaining your hunger for your career the entire time. In fact, it can be the opposite. You know, there's no hunger in paradise type of situation. And somebody like Costello is really fighting from the mud. Like is not bathing in riches or anything like that. So he's really desperate to perform and give his best, but he also needs to because he needs to earn money for himself, and that's who he is. You know, he's all in on fighting, and because he has that, he's just like got this unwavering work ethic and ability to listen and take on information from people like myself and the others in our team that help. So that is a huge asset for him as an athlete, which is it's cool to be a part of, you know, and it means that you hopefully someone like me can help make a difference in his career. And for me, that's what the coaching is all about. And even just the fight in Milan last year was one of the greatest experiences of my life in sports. So yeah, it's cool.
That's amazing. No, I love everything you hit there, and you're so right. He is the hardest working guy that you see. Like, he doesn't put it on for show. Like, he's showing you what he does, like everything. He does all the uncomfortable stuff because he's a natural striker, as we would say in MMA terms. But he's learning the grappling so well with like Ricardo, his brother. And and because now that you've worked with him, like has like the team at MMA Vlardingen, has Ricardo kind of said it to like his up and comers, like, hey, if you have like an injury or if you looking for advice on recovery, like has he started like recommending like some of their guys to come see you for any questions and all that?
Yeah, well, like myself. So there's myself. There's, as I mentioned, Stefan. There's Costello's little brother Gino. There is Jan Muller, who's also in the picture now, helping me out and helping Costello out, I should say. He's also a physio, and he also works in football with me. And we have one of the players, even at my club now, Justin, who's also in that little group and team. So we all kind of are around MMA Vladingen and training and participating in the groups, and we go and support the boys when they fight and stuff because it's such a cool family atmosphere, you know. So we're around there, and guys come to us and say, "Hey, I've got this ache or pain or whatever. What do you think I can do?" And yeah, I'm always in contact with Ricardo, I should say. And he's also a legend, so such a lovely fella to train with and to get along with, so easy, you know. So we're in constant contact about Costello, about Gino, and any other boys. And Ricardo knows if you need something or any of his boys need something, like more than happy to help and extend a hand out. So we have a great relationship in that respect. And yeah, it's not like the guys are flooding through the door and we are making tons of money or something like that. It's more just like on the fly, like, hey, this guy needs to see you because he messed up his knee again, or his shoulders buckled or whatnot. So it's quite chill, organic, I would say. It's grown organically.
Amazing. No, that's what you want. And it's like, cause then it helps you and you see, and you wonder, and then it leads to more encounters with like better, with like, you know, like it leads to more encounters with more potential, I wouldn't say patients or clients, but like just more potential, you know, better relationships. Cause as you said, like, you know, you're not in it. Like you said, you really love working with Costello for like his personality, but also his work ethic, because he's just coming in and willing to learn. And like compared to where he was last year and to where he was now, like what is the thing the one aspect you're most proud of in your work with him, from when you first saw him to his comeback that was in October of last year?
Oh, that's a good question. I must say, like, I am quite a perfectionist, I would say, and quite difficult to please. And I explained to Costello, like, for any athlete, if this is Costello in the center, we want to build consciously a support network all around him of professionals that have world-class skills, if possible, in all areas. And mine is in a certain area. It's usually in rehab and in movement and performance. But Ricardo's, for example, is in MMA. Gevik, Gegard, the guys that he works with that I don't know so well, they have also expertise in that, the technical game planning, wrestling type area. We've set Costello up with food help, also with mental skills and mental tools, meditation, visualization, these types of things. So you can imagine all these areas are sort of like coming around him and coming together, and he's got world-class help surrounding him. And then in an individual sport like MMA, of course, you go and you step into the cage yourself at the end of the day, and it's crazy. It's like one of the gnarliest sports in the world. It's unbelievable. I love it. It's so completely crazy. But they do walk in there as an individual, but they have the team around them, and you're only as good as the support that you lean on for your different areas. So I would say in that respect, I've tried to be a facilitator for Costello to build that network or that web of support around him. And I think for now it's going quite well because we've got some really top-notch people helping him and assisting him to get better each day. So I wouldn't say it's anything specific in that sense, but I would say that support network, planning his training weeks, and the thing with MMA is that because what they do when they go in the cage, like you see the fights on the weekend, like Justin Gaethje and Physio, like they just go in there and knock each other's heads off. Of course, they train hard. They cannot not train hard. But it's also in sports that I've worked in the past. It's not about hard work. It's about smart work and knowing when to push and when to back off and when to allow yourself to recover. Because once the work is done, then the recovery becomes more important. But if you don't work hard enough, then you don't need to fuss about recovery and food and all these extra things. Mm-hmm. So with Costello, it's really ideally on our way to turning him into a mindful athlete, in that he's mindful of what he eats at 9 o'clock at night. He's mindful of what he does pre-training. He's mindful of how we start a session with breathing and with visualization and prepping for the fight mentally. He's mindful that he knows after 3 or 4 days he has to back off and we have to do a recovery day. And that's not just laying on the couch, but that's going and doing something active but chilled and switching off. So it's more of the like global zoomed out view, I would say, for Cos is the big focus. And we have a lot of fun doing it, I would say. That's also a massive boost.
That's real. I love everything you said there. Now, I mean, you look at the data because of the sample size of where he was before he started working with you to now. And I mean, one of his biggest wins was against the now number 2 ranked Bellator middleweight Fabian Edwards, ironically Rocky Edwards' little brother. And when you look at Costello, even though Costello won, this is before the injury started to catch up. The injury caught up with him. If he fights Fabian Edwards from that version of Costello to now working with you and having all that support network, do you feel like that this would be that it wouldn't even be like a split decision win? Like, are we looking at more of like a majority or unanimous decision win if he applies all the skills and tools together in a rematch with Fabian, or if he fought that version of Fabian Edwards?
Yeah, I didn't know Cos when he fought Fabian. I've seen the fight retrospectively, but I think, of course, Fabian is getting better as well. And him and his brother, I watched Leon on the weekend. They are very, very difficult to finish. But I think working with Cos and improving not just me with him, but his whole team, I would like to think that a version of him now would be pushing to get a finish on somebody like that. I know he would probably say the same thing. And that's what we are building him up to do, is to entertain, but entertain impressively in his matches that he has. And I also know that before even the knee, there was a whole bunch of injuries that he had, like neural problems down his shoulder, his groin issues, and he had some pubic issues as well. There was things that he was training through, and just getting to fight night just carrying it along with him as baggage.
Oh
That it's
my
not normal that you do that,
God.
because you can't give the best version of yourself,
No.
and it's not, yeah, it's not helping you in the long term. But I think if you ask him now, like, of course, it's a dangerous sport. You have bumps and bruises and all sorts of minor issues all the time, but he's feeling relatively stable and robust,
Mhm.
in comparison to how he felt before. So I think he's feeling pretty solid, and he's feeling like he wants to compete against the best and finish the best. So yeah, I think he could do it. But I think obviously the first step is Douglas Lima in May,
Yep,
and that's a big
exactly.
enough challenge in itself.
Oh my God. And it basically like from what I understand, if this win if he should he I think he can. I mean, I don't want I mean, look, I try to be as unbiased as I can because I don't because I try to be a statesman, but I mean, this is a Douglas Lima, like, look, that that has been on the raw end of a lot of like losses lately, but I'm not trying to take anything away. Lima is a legend in himself, the welterweight, the Bellator's welterweight, one of the best welterweights of all time in Bellator in the world. He fought Gegard, and he only lost the decisions, but now Costello has that intel to see what Gegard did, improve on that. And they're saying that should he win, I mean, like, he should be back in the top 5 easily, because the rankings are such BS, where this is a guy that was number 3, and then they take him up, and then there's others who have had way more inactivity and they're still there, and you're like, what? You're like, huh? Like, how does this
Yeah,
happen?
yeah, it's true. Yeah. No, I think the goal for Costello and Gino, his little brother, who's also a super talent, is to fight in the best organizations in the world, and Bellator and UFC are the main two, and also one is there. But then is to win titles, and the closest route to a title for him is an impressive finish of Lima, or at least a result against Lima. And then after that, look to what's happening with his teammates, with what happens with Gegard and Fabian.
Mm-hmm.
Check the landscape of that division, and then take each step as it comes. We're kind of like blocking periods off. So up until May, we have stuff to work on. We have goals, we have targets, and we have a way in which we're trying to get there. Build towards that. Each time you're training and each time you're competing, win or learn, as John Kavanagh would say. And he's 31 now, and you know yourself, like, MMA fighters have kind of like that twilight period where you hit your athletic peak, somewhere around 29 to 30. That
Mm-hmm.
can kind of be sustained for a few years, and then after that, physically, the decline kind of starts. But your maturity, especially in MMA, like, I'm just a casual fan, but your maturity as a fighter starts to really come into that twilight period. It can be like between 33,
Mm-hmm.
35, 36, and then even guys are much older. So I'm always conscious of that and telling Costello, like, man, if you take care of your brain and you take care of your body and you can keep yourself fit and active, like, activity is so valuable in any sport. You could hopefully do really impressive things in the coming years and fight as long as you want to, and long as you have that competitive fire. So that's what our training is all based around.
Mm-hmm.
Mixing that with his MMA training is keeping him fresh, keeping him continually developing and adding tools to his toolkit so that he can go out there and do some damage.
Amazing. I always say this, I've been saying it on the record. Maybe you've seen it. I always say by the end of the year, I said Costello will be the end new, and Gegard's going to go up to light heavyweight, because I always say, like, I'm just giving a hypothesis without sounding wild as I have in the past. I am beating a dead horse here. I think Gegard can beat Fabian, although it's going to be a tough fight. And I'm not discrediting Fabian, because Fabian is getting much better. Now look at his brother. He's looking at his brother saying, like, oh man, like, look at if my older brother can do it, why can't I do it? As the saying goes, what one man can do, another can. What one man does, another can. So I see Gegard still winning against Fabian. I think it's just too much of an upgrade for Fabian, but I'm not saying it's an easy win. Gegard gets win 50. He's going to say, you know what? I want to go up to light heavyweight. I want to fight Vadim Nemkov. Costello, this is your division. And then that way Costello can really become, it's kind of like going from the squire to knight to prince to king. That's how I look at Costello's journey. And then the Netherlands has 2 champions in 2 weight divisions to help grow Dutch MMA, because also as well, I'm tired of people saying, oh, Costello is a Musasi prodigy. No, he's Costello, the Spaniard, Van Steenis. He's his own man. He was the Musasi's prodigy maybe in his first 3 fights. But when he beat Fabian Edwards that time, that should have said to everyone, hey, this guy's his own man now. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. I can't speak for Gegard. I've never actually met Gegard, but of course I know him and I've watched him and I know his career and I'm a big fan. But yeah, he's also in like a bit of a twilight period. Like dude was on a savage run right before he even came to Bellator, and undefeated from the UFC, I think, and then lost his last fight to what's his name?
Eblin.
Eblin, yeah. No, Eblin beat Austin, right? And then he lost Eblin.
Yeah, no,
Eblin beat
Gegard came, he won the belt, beat Rory McDonald, then lost it to Lovato, who retired, but there's controversy with that loss as well. And we're not going to get into that. Then he went on a fight streak again, won the belt, defended it against Salter, Vanderford, and then lost it to Eblin.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, those guys are the wrestling and MMA mentors of Costello. So he's in a great place. And if you could get champion middleweight and champion light heavyweight, that would be a massive achievement for the country.
I agree.
Yeah, it would be cool.
Last question I have here, because I don't have like the Zoom unlimited meetings. I just try to keep my meetings to like 40 minutes on purpose, so I don't drag it out the conversation.
I see the countdown.
Yeah, me too, man. Like one last question, to take it away from to take it back, to Netherlands. If I'm coming to the Netherlands for the first time, what is, and don't say, and I don't want to hear go to Amsterdam. What's the first thing I should do when I come to the Netherlands, like to really fit in like a local?
I don't know if fitting like a local is something that I can speak to, because I certainly don't live like a local. But I wouldn't say Amsterdam, because I'm from Rotterdam and they don't even call Amsterdam by its name. They call it by its area code. But come to Rotterdam. You want to get into the cool areas like Schiedam and Vladingen, where Costello is from. Come to a training session, group session, take you out for some food with the boys, play some cards, and then depends a little bit on the time of year what you want to do. If it's like it's cold as it is the last couple of weeks, then that's different to when it's a bit warmer. But there's lots of stuff to do, mate. It depends really on what tickles your fancy. Yeah.
Amazing. Leigh, I really want to thank you for coming on. I had such a fun time doing this. Like, I really learned a lot about recovery, and especially recovery for MMA now. And, you do such an amazing job with these guys, and you're only growing. So hopefully, I know you work with football players, but I'm really hoping, you get more MMA, and then that way, like, who knows, maybe we'll see you at the UFC PI in the future.
Yeah. Time permitting, I would want to focus on Costello and Gino a lot at the moment, but hopefully it will be working with them at the PI one day soon, or something similar.
Exactly. Where can people connect with you if they want to consult or just see the work you've done on social media?
I'm on all the standard socials like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, just under my own name. So Leigh Egger, if you search me up. And also there is a business that a couple of Australian colleagues, myself and Jan, who works with Costello, have developed called Speed Power Play. And if you go on www.speedpowerplay.com, then you will see links to different options and products and stuff we have. The main one being like an application that we use with our athletes and the teams and stuff. So that's like all training tools and information on sleep and recovery and all these things. So that's still in development, quite a lot to come, but that's where people can reach out.
Amazing. Once again, man, you ever want to come on again, whether it's with Costello or Gino or your partner, the door is always open if you ever want to do this again.
For sure, we will, mate, after we have a big win in May.
Nice. All right, guys, make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe button. Support the guest. Also both our channels. We all grow faster together. Drewsperience out.